right, Shalom, Shalom, first and foremost, call line live. I know we have by Hashem, Shai by Hashem, Kakodas. I want to give double honors to the apostle of the great wisdom of the world, teach well, and heart Shalom to the elect. All right, I'm gonna play a series of videos for you to see what's going on in the world in case you're, stuck on stupid or still not aware of what's going on. Okay, because things are happening in the world and you're being told about them right before your face. Let's see if you are paying attention to the times, because the times are here where there's going to be bad things that are coming, okay? And they're already brewing up, okay? So this is Ezekiel 33 and 1. It says, again, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people. All right, that's what our job is. That's what my job is. Okay, and the sword is a killing instrument. Killing instruments can come in any types of form or fashion. Okay. It says here, verse 4. Then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood should be upon his own head. Right. So if you don't listen to the warnings that's being blatantly and publicly shown to you, all right, and then told to you, something is wrong with you, all right? We are in the end times, okay? In verse 5, it says, he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood should be upon him. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. Take warning to these words, okay? Just look at that word warning, because I'm about to show you the things that are going on in the world. And what you need to be paying attention to, because it's going to be slowly but surely things are going to come about where it's that digital ID that's going to be instituted, and then that mark of the beast is coming. All right. So warning is to warning in the Hebrew is a heart. Okay. And it says here to admonish, warn, teach, shine, send out light. Light is knowledge. All right. Information. All right. It says to teach, to warn. And that's what we're doing. All right, let me get one more. This is Isaiah 58 and 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and shoot my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sin. The reason I read this is because this is how the prophets, the watchmen, the Lord need to be. Crying aloud, not sparing. Okay? Telling the truth and nothing but the truth. Okay? So, I got a few TikTok videos I want to look at. All right? Economics, okay, famines, and digital ID, okay. So let's look at the economics one. Oh, this one's disease right here. This one's disease. All these are things that's coming to ensure the downfall of America, okay. But let's look. Let's pay attention.
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about America's financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situation?
You heard the man
The deadly hantavirus
say that he's not concerned about your financial situation. All right. And there's videos, people doing videos, all right. And then the brother did a video on it as well, where Donald Trump went overseas with CEOs of banks and technological advanced companies. Okay, the CEOs of that, they went over there to China. They are on the verge and getting information to set up this digital surveillance system. okay, where it's going to be you under the microscope of everything, okay? That's why he doesn't care about the financial situation of America. That's why he made promises to say this and to say that. And then when he got into office, he did the exact opposite of what he said, not only to you blacks and brown, but to his own people, okay? This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 12. All right, he told you black and brown people to vote for him. He's gonna take care of you. Guess what? He got ice on your ass. All right, you Northern Kingdom tribes, okay? And now he's trying to pull these Southern Kingdom tribes apart by passing legislation to get rid of the 14th Amendment. If they can easily get rid of the 14th Amendment, all right, in some states or whatever states that are pushing that nonsense, I know down there in the South. If they can get rid of that, they can get rid of anything else easily, just as easy. Okay, all right. But the point is this: this is Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like an iron rusted, so is his wickedness." All right, don't trust him. Verse 11 it says, "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away." All right, and his wickedness is ever going to be there; it's never going away. Okay. Now let's look at more economic woes.
Well, it's not your imagination. Just about everything is getting more expensive. Inflation soaring 3.8% versus last year, the highest level of inflation in nearly 3 years. Prices also up for the second month in a row, in large part because of the war with Iran. And, it's average Americans who are paying the price. The typical household is now spending $266 more on the same goods and services compared to last year. Our economy, everything economy guru Elizabeth Schulze joined us out to break it all down. You were even saying on the morning editorial call where everybody within our network is listening in, good news on eggs, not such good news on tomatoes, and then everything else in between. Yeah, exactly. I was trying to find that sliver where you see prices going down, and it's true. Eggs are a bright spot. They're down more than 50% for a dozen eggs in the past year, but pretty much everywhere else we are seeing prices up across the board, including for groceries. A big jump in grocery prices in this April report. You saw that overall rate, 3.8%. So, Kira, this is the highest inflation rate we've seen now since May 2023. What that means is we're seeing an acceleration in prices that is largely driven by those higher gas prices. Gas was a huge part of why that number went up, and you saw that trickle into higher airfares. You saw it trigger into energy costs. I was looking at public transportation. That was up. Delivery fees were up. So that's clearly a gas story. But then you've got those ripple effects that we've been talking about now for weeks, and that's where you start to see it in groceries. So ground beef is at an all-time high now. It's up about 20% for a pound of ground beef in the past year. You mentioned tomatoes. Those are up 50%. There's a big price increase for consumers who are going into a time where you typically make burgers with tomatoes on them. So, this is people paying more. That frozen orange juice, another one. Interesting because you see the price of aluminum actually up. That's also still a tariff story playing out here, Kira. So you've got this inflationary pressure, and you really see it in the places where it hits people the most. Gas and groceries, those are things you're buying every day. And folks are going into debt. Yeah, so what we see is new numbers from the New York Fed on overall household debt. It is at a record high, which it has been ticking up. This wasn't a huge spike, which is good news. We actually saw credit card debt come down a little bit in the first quarter. Generally, that happens after people are paying off debt from the credit holiday period. But the concern here is that when you look at this inflation data, now you have prices going up faster than people's paychecks. So it becomes a lot harder to absorb those higher prices if your salary is not also going up. That had not been the case for a couple of years now. The fact that we're starting to see those prices outpace what take-home pay is really a red flag in the overall economy. Well, it's not your imagination.
Yeah, but guess what? On top of that, people are losing jobs. Prices of things are getting higher, as they illustrated with the numbers throughout the years up until today around this time, all right? But people are losing jobs at a fast rate too, but they're not showing that in the media. But you can look at other, YouTube pages such as Homestead Journey. You got people on there crashing out because they can't afford to live. All right. Then you got the welfare system. All right, which is screwing over the people. But I'm gonna show that in a second. But let's look at another one.
And Americans are in more debt than ever before. A new report shows U.S. household debt hit an all-time high in the first 3 months of the year, and now rising inflation is making it even harder to pay off those bills. Elizabeth, why are Americans in so much debt? Hey, Diane, so one factor here is higher borrowing costs. We see that mortgage rates actually just hit their highest level since March, with the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage now 6.6%. That is actually up, Diane, from just below 6% before the start of the Iran war. And when you look at the numbers, that translates to an extra $126 a month on a payment for a $400,000 home loan. So when you break down this all-time high for consumer debt, those higher borrowing costs from mortgages to credit cards really are one reason why. Take a look at those numbers. You $18.8 trillion in debt. This is according to a report from the New York Fed. 13 trillion of that is from mortgage balances, and then you've got about 1.7 trillion in both auto and student loans, 1.3 trillion in credit card debt. This is not all bad because you do have in a healthy economy people spending using credit, but there is one kind of worrying sign in this data, Diana, is that borrowers are falling behind on payments. When you look at student loans, for example, more than 10% of those student loans are now past due, and researchers say that some of those overdue balances are from parents who took out loans to help pay for their kids' college, Diane. Elizabeth, how do these new inflation numbers factor into household debt? You know, such a big part of this is the prices we pay are going up. So that means when people are using credit cards, those balances go up. So some of this is just kind of growth in the economy. Prices go up, so that's why you would see balances go up. And there's no question about it that one of the things we need to look at now is the fact that overall inflation, Diane, is going up at a faster rate than Americans' paychecks. So that 3.8% inflation rate that we saw is a bigger number than the average hourly earnings over the past year of the typical American family, which is up 3.6%. In other words, that makes it a lot harder for people to absorb some of these price hikes and could explain why we do see some families turning to credit or turning to their savings to try to cover these costs. And Americans are in more debt than ever before.
Mind you, the American dollar is losing its value. Okay? Look at the war that's happening. There are countries that's on the verge and or have not already started trading for oil, whatever they can get from the area of Iran and other countries' money. All right. This is the end. All right. This is the end. Okay. The end is upon everybody. It's coming sooner than you think. All right. Let's look at another one.
The United States has hit a grim financial milestone. For the first time since World War II, our national debt is now larger than our entire annual economic output. For the first time in American history, our national debt is now larger than the entire U.S. economy. And the man sitting in the Oval Office has been treating the federal government like his personal ATM. There's no question that no country has ever remained a superpower when its debt got too large. New figures confirm it. The national debt under the Trump administration has reached a record-shattering high. And we're not just talking about a big number.
That thick clay. Let me see if I can find it. Look at it, have it. This is Habakkuk chapter 2. Trying to see why start at 4. It says, Behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. All right, the ones elected is going to be the one that live by faith. Okay? He also, because he transgressed by wine, which goes into his doctrines, philosophy, laws, policy, amendments, constitutions, right? Anything that they do on a sneak and they're trying to add it on to you through bills, thick pages of legislation that the average American isn't going to read. And then when they get in trouble for not following it, they're not even going to know that they couldn't follow. They wasn't following because it's so much. going on in the world. No real order. Nonetheless, that's part of the wine. It says, he that proud man neither keepeth at home, nor lodges his desires hell, and it as death. He cannot be satisfied. The people over here in this country are struggling, and this man is worried about another country getting nuclear weapons. But if you don't mess with them, they won't use their weapons. Anyway, but they go over there messing with them. So now when they start launching on your ass, what you gonna do? It says here, but gathers unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people through that wine, through that petrodollar, okay, through that sword. Verse 6, it says, shall now all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, that wasn't that debt, that money, okay? And the lady just said that
Record-shattering high. A superpower when it's dead. ATM. There's no question that no country has ever remained a superpower when its debt got too large.
there you go. America's debt is too large, that thick clay.
New figures confirm it. The national debt under the Trump administration has reached a record-shattering high. And we're not just talking about a big number. We are talking about a debt that now exceeds the full gross domestic product of the United States. That means this country owes more than it produces every single year. That has never happened in the history of this nation. And this did not happen by accident. Trump has been systematically draining federal resources, handing out government contracts to personal allies, to family members, to loyalists who have done nothing to earn them. Cabinet officials, including the Secretary of Transportation, are reportedly using unlimited government expense accounts for what amount to private vacations, planes, hotels, personal trips on your tax dollars. The Federal Reserve, which is legally supposed to operate free from political interference, is being used like a personal piggy bank.
All right, none of that's important. What is important is that America's debt is higher than what it can produce. All right. Let me see. And like you said within that video, right? The 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 money is going to other services such as contract with relatives that don't do anything to add benefit to the government, but they're taking the money away from the people in regard to their benefits, governmental benefits. Look at their food stamps.
Lee Rosen used to get about $260 a month in food assistance. Earlier this year, the 69-year-old Phoenix resident started getting nothing. And he's not the only one. Nearly 460,000 people in Arizona have been kicked off the federal food assistance program since Congress passed new restrictions last summer. That is a 50% drop, and the problem could get a lot worse.
Yeah.
That's because H.R. 1, also known as the
It's going to get a lot worse when people out here rioting for food. Okay? You get that. Because this is what's going to come. People can't afford shit now, right? People losing their jobs. Stuff is getting higher than the income that people are making about this time. And it's only going to get to the point where people are breaking in your house and taking your stuff. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to them. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sport of their destruction draweth nigh. And one shall stand up and fight against another, and sword in their hand. All right, civil unrest. Okay. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, nor the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right, this is what's coming. They're gonna run up in this old man house, take
When
what
the
he
Big
got.
Beautiful Bill Act introduced strict work requirements for SNAP eligibility and shifted program costs onto state budgets.
HR 1 included the deepest.
All right, we don't care. All right, we don't care. This is just to let you people know that hard times are gonna come. Hard times are gonna come to the point where they won't be out here doing what this guy's doing.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services. My ministers will also proceed.
If they talked about it earlier in the year, that all the stuff that's happened in between now and then, get you people to forget, now they're going to implement it on you. All right, where you can't move in the country without having no type of biometric information input into their system. There's all this talk about data centers in America, but what about in these other countries? Right, let's go to what's this digital ID leading to. Just the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and verse 16. This is what it's leading to. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And this is what's coming. All right, let me show you. Here we go. It says RFID, CHIPs, and humans are small, right-sized subdermal transponders, usually passive RFID or NFC, that store data or act as unique identifiers for accessing doors, starting vehicles, and making payments. It can't get any clearer than this. This is what's going to come behind this digital ID. All right, if you look up this website I always go to, AtlanticCouncil.org. It's talking about the shaping of the global future. Look at this. This just recently happened. What did Trump and Xi accomplish? All right, not sure. Right? At the end of the day, it's not going to be good for America. Let me see. Look at this, all this stuff right here. This is it. Tracker. The central bank digital currency tracker. Look at all these data centers in the background and just checking everything you do. Right? Anyway, but here you go. Look at this. It says launched. America are in the, okay, never mind. It's still in the other phase. Let's see. But here you go look at this, monitor this, and you'll see, all right, what other countries are at, where they're doing with the digital infrastructure that's coming, and what all this is going to lead to is taking that chip, or that chip coming out, and you haven't decided to take it or not. All right, let's go to one more video. And more famine. Look at this. More loss.
I'm afraid I have bad news for all the farmers that voted for Donald Trump, many of them a third time. The
This is specifically for the cattle farmers. Donald Trump is not coming to save you. He took you down, just like he did his first 4 years as president. As a matter of fact, the last time bankruptcies with cattle farmers were this high was Donald Trump's last year in office. He hurt farmers so badly his first 4 years that your tax dollars and my tax dollars had to come bail the farmers out. So here he is again. He's taken more down than he ever has before. Bankruptcies for cattle farmers has skyrocketed. Beef prices are at record highs. And now, as consumers, what we're having to deal with is quality of beef issues because Donald Trump's administration laid off a shit ton of regulators that enforce food quality safety. They're using meat fillers that are like a consistency of pate. There's tumors and cysts that are making it into the beef through the food processing plants. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you have a reduction in regulators. And Donald Trump this time around.
All right, look, it's just there goes something else for the people to be concerned about. Okay, it's all going down like the way the Lord wants things to go, but this is a bankruptcy coming from farmers. All right, this is a bankruptcy coming from farmers. And you see how she said if the regulators and the food gets inspected by them and Donald Trump is firing them to cut prices so he can get contracts to other people. I'm assuming based on what that news article, that social media article said. Okay, but bad times are coming. Let me get this scripture. I'm trying to find it where it said we would have killed it, but this is a good one nonetheless. This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the caves of every unclean and hateful bird. Let's look at this word fall.
Strong's G 4098. Pipto.
Alright. It says to descend from a higher place to a lower. This is what's happening to me. To fall under judgment. Came under condemnation. Let's look at the word condemnation. It says the expression of a very strong disapproval. Let's see. It says the action of condemning someone to a punishment, sentencing. All right, the sentencing of America is one that is going to burn with fire. Okay, let's see. To fall down, fall into ruins of buildings, walls. To fall out, fall from, i.e., perish or be lost. Look at this, to no longer, to lose authority, no longer have force. Esau Edom has that authority by the dollar, the force of the sword, okay? By laws and legislation, that wine, okay? To perish, i.e., come to an end, disappear, cease, okay? That's what's going to happen to America, all right? But these are the troubles that's coming. The Lord will edify